Gentlemen.
Dan Alexander, this is Rob and Slim.
What is happening?
What's up,
What's
dude?
up?
What an honor. Man, what an honor.
Thank you.
It's
I'm
cool.
listening to some, I'm getting caught up on listening to you guys and everything. I mean, you guys are pretty fucking funny. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. And
Yeah.
you are an author from Nova Scotia, right?
Yeah, I'm about 4.5 hour drive away from our good friend Frankie there.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask if you ever met him.
Not in person, no. Just through our mutual we also have another mutual contact, Jack Casey there. Wonderful talent in Montreal, their bass guy.
He's awesome.
Oh, is it just a real, the two of them, just wonderful together. Listen, go on and listen to sometimes I go watch the repeats, listen to them talk about weather and life, and man, they're just fantastic people.
How did you connect with them, dude?
I've been a fan of Frankie's for years, and then when he started promoting going on Bass Guy, I'm like, oh, Bass Guy. And of course, I play bass as well.
Cool.
Not even close to as near as Jack's level, that's for damn sure. But I thought, okay, this is cool. So I go on and listen to Jack and watch them, and I'm like, man, Jesus, just talented and just pure positivity, that kind of shit.
Jack, yeah, totally. Jack told us too. He used to perform for like royalty in in Europe and stuff, and I'm like, wow, dude, it's just amazing, Yes.
Oh yeah, Jack's one of the best players I've heard in ages,
That's
easily.
Awesome. Wow, and you used to also write. That's why I thought maybe you connected with Jack. You used to write music reviews, right?
Yeah, a long time ago when I was just finishing high school, even is where I'd gotten my start, was writing for a long gone website, State of the Rock World. A local drummer had started it. I'm like, okay, I'll write some music reviews. It's kind of fun because we used to. One of my best friends was a drummer, and we used to do that as kids, just like handwriting. Hey, we got a Slayer record. Let's review it and then share the review, man. So we'd write reviews. We'd sit there like, okay, you present your review of the new Slayer record or something. So we'd sit in the same room and be like, this is what I think, and then we'd have like little debates about it. So that's where I ended up getting my start, was writing. Like I actually got CDs in the mail from some of these unsigned bands, which was great because I got to hear some really rare stuff.
Yeah, that's almost like college indie type of thing right there. And I feel like that's the best audience for you. Your friends, like they're gonna tell you if you suck. They're gonna tell you if your opinion sucks. So they're gonna toughen you up. They're gonna get you ready.
Well, I was curious if it's as bad as like when you post a review on the internet, if all the comments are the same from your buddy.
Yeah. It's like if you get to me, there's no such thing as a bad book review. And the one or two times I've had a bad book review, I'm like, I don't think you actually read the book, or well, okay, that's fine, criticism accepted. Like I kind of see it as a joy because you learn from it, and then you also can call out the bullshit
and
yourself.
And you still made somebody, even if you piss someone off, you made them write something. You made them take a amount of time out of their day just to do that.
Exactly. It's like, well, you spent however long reading a book or however long reading something I wrote. So, well, I'm glad I made your day somehow, whether I pissed you off or whether you enjoyed it. So,
I get it on YouTube, Dan. I get it where like 25 minutes wasted in my life, and I'm like, oh wow, you're that stupid. You don't know how to stop a YouTube video. Like, I'm so sorry. You're going
that's
through life.
That's the beautiful
like
of content on demand. You can press stop and go on to the next thing, right? So these morons are getting tortured. The world is full of stupidity, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and once you say something like that, then they don't reply. They never come back after that.
No. And that's what you need to do, is remind people that the most plentiful element in the world is stupidity. It's not oxygen, because there's just a lot of it going around.
I had one a few weeks ago, and I know this guy thought about it. He was like, "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid that you're wasting your time on this show every week and not getting laid." And I'm like, "Well, why do you care so much about other guys' penises?"
Yeah, there's clearly an underlying obsession there somewhere.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm either brave or just really stupid, Dan.
So you say to them, "Well, what are you creating that actually brings is entertaining to people?"
Yeah. Exactly. That's always a valid point.
Like, you wasted 25 minutes of my like. Fuck off. Well, I just spent 2 minutes of valuable time telling you to fuck off.
Oh, Dan, you're amazing. You're amazing. But talking about your book, though, I did check. I did look up your book, Planned on Parenthood, and it had amazing reviews from what I read.
Yeah, a couple good ones, and yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, it's amazing to think that I finished that almost 8 years ago. Coming up.
That's what I was going to ask, and it's just about proactively choosing not to have children.
Yeah, written from the guy's perspective, and to the best of my knowledge, I was still the first guy to write about this kind from a guy's perspective. But it's not just about, hey, I'm a guy, I'm not having kids. As it developed, I got into talking about other things like adoption, the oppression against LGBTQ community when they want to go and adopt, in countries that still put a stop to that because of right-wing fundamentalist, Christians and so on. It just evolved into this big commentary in a sense, but thoughtful and provocative commentary. It's not like me shaking my finger at people.
Yeah.
It's like,
I didn't take it as that by reading the reviews at all. Like you were just like shitting on people that had kids.
It's just that's how it all went.
Yeah.
It was people that, a couple of parents that read it said, I expected it to be a diatribe, from you about, no, I don't like kids, but that's just not it. So,
I have kids and I love my kids. And I still say I hate everyone else's kids. When I hear some kid in a store carrying on, I'm like, I hate other people's kids. And just sometimes even just like I said, I love my kids and I have 3 sons, but sometimes I just think like, what a fucked up world I brought them into. Like,
yep. But at least you acknowledge kids. That, and you're gonna, that, by acknowledging that, you're still going to do the best you can.
Yes, exactly.
So,
but it is like,
so much respect.
Wow, man. Yeah, sometimes I'm thinking, like, especially with this whole current thing, it's like, oh my God, hearing like my 12-year-old stress about, well, first of all, he was going to be doing sports this summer, so that sucks. But second of all, he's like, I don't even know if this thing's going to be around next year, and we might not even have school. It's like no 12-year-old should have to stress about.
Yeah, no should have to. I mean, God, if I was, if this pandemic had happened when I was 12, I think I'd have been, doing cartwheels and backflips off of roofs, being so happy not to be in school because virtual school didn't exist, right?
Yes.
In our kid days, right?
Yeah.
So there was still correspondence. Incredibly, our school district had correspondence courses, which I'm like, let me go to the post office and get a stamp, and then I'll lose it in the mail. Like, who gives a shit? But it's harder now. Like, they had to do virtual learning here.
Yes.
For kids, and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't. I couldn't. I just couldn't.
That was the thing too. My ex-wife told me like some of the questions are so hard. Like she sees why our kids get frustrated because it's just like it sounds like a job interview. Like they ask the same question over and over again, and they rephrase it and like try to trick you. Like it sounds like horrible.
And homework is bad enough as it is. Like when school is going, homework has got to be one of the stupidest things ever. Because you know what you're teaching kids? You're teaching kids, hey, if you don't get your work done at the end of the day, you're going to get home and do it when you're not getting paid likely to do it. Yes. It's so stupid.
Yeah, no, we don't do that as adults. If we're done with work, we're done with work. We don't go home and do anything.
Yeah, I gave up doing homework in 9th grade. That was the end of it. I was just like, I'll just do it at the library during the day, or I just won't do it.
Yes.
That's just it.
I always did it in class before class.
I did too.
Before the teacher started talking, I always did it real quick. Or copied it.
Did you do it? And I just waved my hands kind of maniacally. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, fine. I see the check mark go on the page, and I'm like, mission accomplished.
Oh man. Are you working on another book, Dan?
Yeah, I have another one, first draft of another one done. I'm gonna just eventually in the coming weeks print it and take a red pen and go through it, and that's been kind of in the works for years. It had all these pieces going together about growing up in small town Nova Scotia, and I thought, okay, there's some funny stuff in here, and then there's some interesting stuff in here. So I ended up starting a couple of weeks ago having to cut some things out, and I was like, holy shit, I've got enough here for an actual book. Okay, this is nuts. So I'll try to finish that and get it out this fall or early in the new year, depending on some things.
Cool. And what's that called?
The title I've got is Let Nothing Go to Waste. So the idea being, hey, you got some stories to tell, don't let them go to waste. Tell your kids, tell something,
Nice.
Entertain people.
Nice.
And that's what I try to do. Even if I'm only entertaining myself at the end of the day, then we'll find I'm a good audience,
Right, exactly. You're the best audience. You're the only one that matters.
I say, Jackie Mason said, I like talking to myself because it means I like dealing with a good class of people. And he's right. He's right.
Yeah. I love your accent, Dan. It's almost like Scottish.
Oh, that comes out once in a while because of my dad and my grandfather, and oh my God, I miss them both, but they died. My grandfather passed. Actually, my grandfather passed like days before I was able to get Planned Unparenthood like ready to be put out, and then lost my dad. Unfortunately, it was a year and a couple months later. So he passed away December 2013. So it was very sudden. But my grandfather had a very thick Scottish accent.
Is that where they were from?
Yeah, they were both. Yeah, my grandfather was from Fife, Kirkcaldy in Scotland. My dad was born there, but he came over to Canada at a very young age. I can never get it straight. I think it was 2-3 years old. So he didn't live there long enough to get an accent. But of course, my grandfather had, Scottish accent right up to the day he died, and he lived to be 90.
Wow, so God bless him.
Yeah.
I
hope I can have his luck, and I do miss him, and I write about him in the next book. I've got a couple of bits of him and I going to the wrestling matches on Sunday nights and during the summers.
Oh, that sounds like
here.
Amazing, like childhood.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I was gonna say, if you picked up a little bit of an accent, that means that you did spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and even when I moved away from here in 1999, I went to Alberta to work. But I spoke with him regularly, and every time I came back for a trip, I'd spend as much time with him as I could, and we would just kill each other laughing, and I miss him. But I'd call him, and he'd say that it wouldn't even be necessarily to hear him talk about anything coherent half the time. He'd call, "Oh, sorry. Well, listen, tell me something about your life," and what if I haven't told you? One time, not too long before he passed away, I said, "Well, Gramps, I ran out of beer. I can tell you that. I got no beer in the house." And he just kind of paused for a minute. "Listen, when you screw up, you really screw up." And I thought, and I had to put the phone down and just be like, "That's my grandfather."
You can't. That's the truth. Yeah, no, you can't argue with that.
Oh my God, he used to just kill me, absolutely kill me.
That's
I like
great.
to think I try to inherit some of his wit and wisdom, but I have his harmonica. I have his harmonica, and I have one of his old smoking pipes, which just purely keep around for amusement and the occasional poorly done Groucho Marx impersonation. So yeah, he was something else, and hopefully my spouse and I are aiming to get to Scotland sooner rather than later, and I definitely want to spend some time up in that area where he was from.
Yeah, that's cool. And
I hear nothing but good things about it. So
yeah, you've never been over there?
No, it's always been in the must do it, and with stuff that we've had going on in the last few years. My wife and I have the attitude now, like, okay, we've got to make some stuff work.
That's what I was gonna say. After this thing blows over, I feel like all that like gotta do stuff you gotta do some of that stuff.
Yeah. I'd hoped we'd go over before I turned 40, and I just turned 41, and it's like, well, we'll still get there. Stuff happens, life happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but we'll make it work. So we're working towards it.
Cool. And little Birdie told me you do other accents too, Dan.
Hey, well, I'm trying. Oh my God, I'm trying. I work with a bloke who's he's from Romania and he's married to a Russian. So occasionally I will talk to him sounding like this mad angry Russian, and he just loses it laughing because he's like, you're starting to sound like one of my kids. That's when you bring your lunch today. Did you forget it? Oh, you have to go to Tim Hortons. Oh, that's okay. Jack. Bring money when you come back out to farm on weekends. So pick up bread. But he knows I could just when he comes in after a weekend, he's got this farm with horses, and they do some really amazing work with horses. And so he comes in on the weekend looking like something beat the shit out of him, and I just say, so let me guess, you misbehave in Russian KGB do you out in Horsefield? Yeah, and he no, it's nothing.
I love it.
But
I love it. Oh, that's great.
I spend too much time at having coffee with him, I think.
I love that he said you sound like one of those kids. That's even. I feel like that's a top compliment you can get in that situation. Like,
oh sure, and I was working on something a while back in my day job, and I can't get into what that is, but it involved having to deal with representatives from Germany. And you listen to enough of those interviews.
Yes.
And, I mean, oh my God, it's just on one hand you're like envious. You're like, oh my God, how can people? Why couldn't I have been that brilliant? Kind of thing. And then you spend enough time around them, and just, I am doctor, and I answer to nobody. Okay, all right, good for you. But you guys ever see? You guys see the James Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies? That's one of the last ones Pierce Brosnan did.
I've never seen a James Bond movie. I gotta be honest.
I'm
right
in
now.
the same
That's
boat,
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But there's an American actor in that, and he's long passed away. Vince Schiavelli. He was a really, really tall character actor, and he played this. You got to check it out. But he plays this, really convincing, evil, German henchman who makes a brief appearance, and for the many years, oh my God, it's a perfect German accent. Turned out I see him in a Man in the Moon, working alongside Jim Carrey, and I'm, oh my God, he was American.
I love that movie. I love
that,
that, and I'm not a big Jim Carrey fan, but that movie, I feel like he nailed Andy. Nailed Andy Kaufman.
Jim, as a stand-up comedian, was like, if you look up Jim Carrey's Unnatural Act, which he filmed, I mean, that aired in Canada when he was still sort of between here and Los Angeles, but that to me is one of the funniest stand-up specials for the time ever, and it's on YouTube if you ever get a chance to look it up.
What's that one called?
Jim Carrey's Unnatural Act.
Unnatural Act. Okay, yeah, I've never seen his stand-up. I've never seen that.
I think as a stand-up, he was definitely among the top best of all time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I can respect his acting too, to a point. There's a few of his films that I could take a pass on, but I mean, Ace Ventura I thought was a big deal because Cannibal Corpse appeared in it. I was more like, hey, death metal band appearing in the movie, yeah, mainstream, oh yeah.
I just recently read an article, and it was heart moving that his whole start for comedy was just the fact that his mom was terminally ill, and he was just trying to make her laugh. That was wow.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that. But it's like anything else. Some of these guys go on to great stand-up careers or go on to great acting careers, but you go back and look at some of their stand-up before they really took off, and it's like, oh my God, hope they go back out on the road and do a tour one day, and just see, Eddie Murphy's been talking about this for years, and
really?
My God, if he were to go out and do this, holy hell!
I think he'd kill
everyone. Bring the house down.
Yeah, he would rule. He would be at the top. I feel like if he ever came back with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. Robin Williams is no longer with us, but Robin was the kind of person, I've read so many stories where he would just show up at a club completely unannounced, and he didn't have to go up and prepare. He could just do 30 minutes and kill.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I'd said that's a skill. That's a skill.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we talked to a guy recently, and he said every now and then Dave Chappelle would just show up, and he'd be smoking cigarettes in the crowd, and then just decide to just come up and crash and just do, like you said, just do 30 minutes and just kill.
Yep. And a lot of times people, I'm trying to work something, they might be trying to work something out. Mm-hmm. And what's great to see, though, I noticed from looking I see a move away from political comedy in the States to some degree. And of course, Saturday Night Live still brings it in, but I think they do it in a way that's reasonably tolerable.
Yes, anything I've seen of that.
Alec Baldwin. Oh my God, Alec Baldwin saved that show.
He did. Yes. I feel like that's one of the only reasons I've seen recent clips because of him. I stopped watching. I don't even know. Probably after Will Ferrell. Probably at the end of those years, I stopped watching.
Yeah, I was a part of that. For me, the Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Wayne's World stuff. That's the stuff I stayed up late for.
Yes, I did the Sandler. I went into Farley. Yeah, and then after that, I kind of gave up, but I did come back a little for the Will Ferrell years.
Yeah, I did as well, briefly, and then I was never up that late on Saturdays, even even into other into my 20s and everything, was never really up that late.
Wow.
On Saturday, or I just kind of forget about it, and I never really had cable TV anyway, just stuck to music and whatever I had kicking around. But
yeah,
that kind of but political comedy here in Canada is I think it's a death sentence for a lot of comedians. I really do. And because no one gives a shit anymore. They don't want to hear about the news. They want to laugh.
That's it. Yeah, I do. I want that. I want an escape. I don't want what's in my face already. It already sucks.
Yes. That's why people go to shows like your guys's, and they go, okay, I want to hear something different. I want to hear laughter. I want to hear somebody go off on something. I want to be entertained.
It's just real talk. I just don't want. I don't want to hear things by somebody, getting paid to feel a certain way. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, did you read this in the news? Nope, I didn't. Thanks. Have a nice day. I'll shut that shit down so fast.
I love you mentioning too. Working with like the German guy and the Romanian guy. I used to work in a printing facility, and we were owned by Germans, and we had a guy that ran the whole press room, and he was Austrian. So anytime we would sit in a meeting with him talking, I would be like forcing back the laughter just because it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger telling me about like printing and ink and shit. I wouldn't have been able to
keep a straight face.
Oh my god,
I wouldn't.
And I'd be looking at my friend sitting next to me, and he'd be fighting back. So like, I don't know how I didn't get fired.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's sort of like if I'm listening to when my grandfather used to go off on my dad, and I would sit there and just be like, I couldn't. I'd have my head buried under the table, because on the one hand I'd be like, yep, he deserves it, and the second of all, it's like, oh my god, just imagine if there were like 6 or 7 of them in the room, and is this what it sounded like? At my grandfather was the youngest of 8 siblings.
Oh,
so think of him and his 8 siblings and his parents all in one room.
Yes.
And I mean, I've looked at photos of his parents, and and it's like, this doesn't look like a Scottish family. I mean, my great grandmother looked like Paul Simon, so it just didn't, it didn't mesh very well. I'm like, oh my god, 10 people in a room having dinner in those ridiculous accents. Oh my god.
Oh, they all probably were outwitting each other. Yeah, with like every line. Yep, it had to be just.
I'm sure I would have been right at home. So I mean, that's when we go over there. I just want to show up at one of the pubs and just sit and listen to people.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that's cool. Dan, I wanted to ask too. Having done the music reviews and all, did you ever piss anyone off with one of your reviews?
No, I didn't, and I think because I wanted to take a fair approach to what I heard with what I got coming in, and be like, okay, well, there's, I would look for things, but I tried to keep an open mind.
Like positive, constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism. That's what I did with a couple of the I guess, for lack of a better phrase, the lesser known acts.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, but I want to, if you work on this, or, maybe this sounds a bit too choppy, or there's something screwy with the production value.
That's cool.
Or something. It sounds too polished. I would point out little things like that, but not in a way like, oh my god, your air supply, you suck.
Yes, I feel like that's great. That's a great approach, and I feel like that's a talent in itself. Like, because I'm sure it's easy to ruffle some feathers.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed doing it. It was just a great learning experience when I was doing that, and I got to meet some pretty amazing people. And years later, I went to a Blue Oyster Cult concert in Calgary in 2000 and got to meet a couple of them as a result of some of that work. Cool. And awesome. Just good fun.
Cool. Dan, it's been a blast talking to you, man. I can't believe we have to wrap it up already, but dude.
Yeah, this has been so fun, and I hopefully we'll do this again.
Yes, absolutely. Where can everybody find you?
On Twitter at Writer Dan, DANN with 2 N's, and on website I write a few things at DANNAlexander.com.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the show, and hi to Big Frankie.
You too, my friend. Yeah, we got him. We got him as the finale.
Yes.
Oh, that's a perfect way to end it.
I saw his name and I was like, oh, it's the end of the month. I forgot.
That's it. I always book him for the end of the month. Yeah, because every time he comes on, it's the last Wednesday of the month.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a sort of set schedule with him and you guys. It's great.
It's cool.
We'll have him on, and then he'll ask me when's the next time, and I'm like, want to do the last Wednesday? And he's like, yeah. Great idea. So yeah.
Yep. He likes to have his schedule ironed out, man.
He does. He's the best. He
is. He really is. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one, Dan.
All right, later, guys.
Later, dude.
Y'all pop.
See you, Tris.